Grand Rising to the Moors.
Abbasi Caliph Bay, Savannah, Georgia Territory. Islam.
Grand Rising, Justice Abbasi. It is an honor.
Islam, this is Gabonde in Central Division.
Grand Rising. And can we change that to Central Territory? Instead of Central Division, can we change it to Central Territory?
Central Territory. Central
yes,
America.
Islam. Thank you. We are not divided. We are unified. Islam. Thank you for that, nobility. We appreciate you.
Islam.
Islam.
Islam, Moorish, Southeast American territories.
Grand Rising, Justice Moore. It is an honor.
This is
Yassi Ali L, Maryland.
Grand Rising, nobility from Maryland Territory. If there is a lot of noise in your background, if you'll go ahead and star 6, that would help so that the rest of us can hear. Grand Rising in the chat, Islam.
Grand Rising, this is Sana in Central Territory.
Grand Rising, Empress, Shana, nice to know, and actually honored for you to be here.
It's good to be here.
Islam, Grand Rising. Okay, if your sound goes up on the meter, then we'll mute the sound so that it does not interfere. Islam. Grand Rising to the Moors. Okay, we've given it a couple minutes. It's about 4 minutes after the hour, so we'll go ahead and get started. So, first of all, grand rising and high honor to the Moors, who are the heirs for all land, all natural resources, and all universal commerce on the earth. We want to add a little bit of clarification to something that came up in the chat last week. So, in order to add a little bit of clarification, if someone who has a dictionary would look up the word servant in your older dictionary and read that. And you can star 6 when you see it so that you can read it.
Islam. That was kind of funny. I was looking at the etymology of family, and that's what it came out to be, servant. Islam.
Islam. That is one of them. But yes, absolutely.
Which one did you need? One of my cards?
Are there any others?
What are we looking at?
We are looking at the word servant. Servant. S-E-R-V-A-N-T.
Islam, I have a Black's Law 7th edition, a definition for servant. A person who is employed by another to do work under the control and directions of the employer, the employee.
Continue. Continue. There should be other definitions as well. So it's one, from what I heard, it's one who is employed by another. Okay. Other definitions for the word servant.
Islam. I have the definition subject for servant.
Subject?
Subject.
Islam. That is, yes, Islam. Any others?
Islam, I could give one, but I'm not looking at the dictionary, but it's one that will cause fights. Emperor, Empress.
Servant.
Okay, that. Well, we want to see one in the dictionary, an older dictionary. Servant, okay. And when we define a word, we want to not use that word in the definition. We want to make it so that we get the definition of the word without using it, or else that's not totally a clear definition. Islam.
Oh, yes. My microphone is back. Apollo L.
Definition of servant.
Policy enforcer.
That is correct, actually.
Public service.
Continue.
Frank Hill.
They are servants. Islam.
Frank Hill. That's him.
Okay.
Service voluntarily or involuntary. A person may
read a little bit louder, Empress. Read a little bit louder.
Oh, she telling me to read a little bit louder.
Islam.
Grenada, Lubos Bay, Mississippi Territory,
Islam.
Western Universal Unabridged Dictionary. You're right, there's several. As the gentleman said of the first one who serves or does services voluntarily or involuntarily, a person, male or female, who is employed by another for, and my eyes went badly, manual offices or other labor. I'll stop that one there. Number 2, one in a state of subjection. Remember that God was a servant in Egypt.
Yes.
3, the expression of civility used often by equals, formally, also a term of gallantry, denoting an admiral of a lady. Your humble servant, your obedient servant.
Islam, I have a definition.
Yes.
Keep reading, Empress. If there are any others. Okay, Islam.
I have a definition from the
Go ahead, Empress.
Second edition Black Laws Dictionary. Servant, one employed to perform service in master's affairs, whose physical conduct in performance of the service is controlled or subject to right to control by master.
Yes, absolutely.
The term often given special meaning by statutes and like other words, it's greatly influenced by context and wills and other documents.
Islam.
A person, whatever rank or position, to employ and subject to direction or control of another in any department of labor and business. And that's
Islam. So I keep seeing the word subject, servant. I also heard, I saw in the chat the word slave. Okay.
Interjection. I got something.
Okay, go ahead and read your definition of servant.
Well, I have a definition, but I've been training, studying, and it's say when I say I'm training, not to say, "Oh, how you doing, family? Hey, family," and I understand that's why I don't use it no more because of a servant. A family is a servant.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you for that. Yes, absolutely. Any other definitions for servant? I'm seeing in the chat, Justice Theodore put the term is often given special meanings by statutes and like other words is greatly influenced by context and wills and other documents. So the definitions that I have here are they coincide and they say the same things that you all have. Subject, one who is employed by another, slave, etc. A person, I see Empress Sharon Morris Bay put in the chat, a person of base condition or ignoble spirit. A person of base condition. We must have the same definition, dictionary as well. Mine says the same thing. So the reason why I wanted to bring this up is because there are
Dawood, Bilal,
Islam.
Ibn Yusufel,
Islam.
Trump.
Islam. There are the reason why that is being brought up is because our prophet made a statement, and that statement clearly needs clarification because some have not done the etymology and the defining of the word servant. Our prophet, in all his greatness, said, a servant is worthy of his hire. And whenever, and this has just been a pattern that I've seen, this is just me, this is my own 2 cents of the pattern that I've seen, and I'll ask everyone to stay muted while we have our discussion. I have seen many in the past who, whenever they are doing, and this is our nation talking. This is the Moors. We're talking among consuls and justices. It is all of our responsibility. It is our noble responsibility and duty, and it is also our sovereign authority to do things that free us. Okay? That is our duty. That's not something where someone employs you to free yourself and to assist in freeing your nation. That is our duty. And whenever in the past, just an observation, someone is doing their duty, what they should be doing, because we shouldn't be doing anything other than freeing ourselves. We have nothing else that's more important. And when they're doing their duty, sometimes things get a little bit sidetracked, and the fiat energy comes into what they're doing on a massive level. And when you say, well, do you think you should be charging people for that? Because that's actually, those documents belong to the people anyway. That the freedom belongs to the people. The first thing that comes out of their mouth is a servant is worthy of his hire. And so when they say that, I always think, they must not have done the study on the difference between a servant and the nobility. Hey. And either you are a servant or you are the nobility, but you can't be both. You can't be both. You cannot be both. Okay? Why can't you be both? Well, that's like saying sovereign citizen. You can't be, there's no such madness. Either you're sovereign or you are a citizen, and the citizens know that. So then when they say that, oh, a servant is worthy of his hire, you know, I shouldn't be doing this for whatever. I need to be compensated for my time. No, actually, freedom is everyone's sovereign duty. And whenever someone says that to you and they're attempting to sell something to you that you can do for yourself, because we can all do the research for ourselves. Same research that I've done, any one of us can do because it's out there. So the next time someone uses that, you just tell them, what is a servant? Just ask them, what is a servant? Do you know what a servant is? And did you know that the nobility cannot be servants? We have servants. We can't be them, though, because we tried that. There was a perception that we were the servants and that the servant was the master. And we see where that got us. Didn't get us very far, did it? No, it didn't. Some of us are still paying for that move. Still sitting in a jail cell somewhere. We can't be both. We cannot be both, and we will not be both. We pay for that if we try to be both. So then when you look up the word, and I thought about it some more. I thought a servant is worthy of his hire. Our prophet is very wise. He knew exactly what he was saying. He knew that. So then I thought a servant is worthy of his hire. Well, what does of mean? Of means without. There you go. That's why we say the Constitution for the United States instead of the Constitution of the United States. We say it because they're trying to enact a constitution without the people.
Islam.
Empress.
The last definition that I found, and it wasn't even listed under subject, it was under subjacent support. And then on the next page it was subject, but the constitutional law definition for subject is the one that owes allegiance to a sovereign and is governed by his laws.
Teach, Empress, teach that. Do we owe allegiance to anyone other than our sovereign selves and our sovereign nation and our sovereign flag? No, we do not.
No.
We do not. Of means without. So don't let anyone sell you your freedom using that right there. Our prophet knew that we were the nobility. That's why he said that. All he was saying was treat the servants fairly. Treat them fairly. When you find out who you are, treat them fairly. That's all he was saying. And then what does the word higher mean? What does it mean? That's it. And most of us know already that that's not where we're supposed to be. Our job is to our allegiance is to our nation and to ourselves. Slaves are for hire. Now, I'm not bashing working and jobs. Let's not take it there. I'm not bashing that, and those who do it, high honors to you. I'm talking about the Moors that use a servant is worthy of his hire to get fiat from other Moors when it's their duty and their sovereign responsibility to assist. That's all I'm talking about. Servants do not have noble titles. They don't. Servants don't have noble titles. Servants cannot own anything because we own everything, okay? The Fiat Federal Reserve debt note used to, they were used to make us feel like slaves, okay? That's what that energy was all about. We're done with that energy. We are done with that. Okay, that stuff is not, we're not, so again, in our nation, that cannot be used to keep information from the Moors where you use that. And this is what I've seen with the one or two who use that kind of energy and say a servant is worthy of his hire and I'm not doing this for free. Well, the energy has been on the few that I've seen do that, because that's not, the majority of us do not do that. But it's a few who do. And the ones who do always say the same thing. They end up not getting what they sought in the first place. They usually end up getting a really hard time. Okay? They usually end up getting a really hard time. And so we don't want that to be, that's not going to stop us ever. It's never going to stop us, because any information, again, that the ancestors revealed to one of us, they will show it to others as well. Sometimes the ancestors are gracious and they give us a process, and then one or two will take that process and want to sell it to the heirs. You can't sell that to the heirs. It came from the ancestors, meaning it belongs to all the heirs anyway. So don't come here with that. Servant is worthy of his hire, unless you agree and consent to be a servant. And if that's the case, I got some floors that need to be mopped. But we don't do that. Now, so let's go on. Let's move on beyond that. I just wanted to clarify that just for the record. Islam. So let's. I want to start this meeting by sharing and by calling forth all original indigenous natural divine sovereigns whose appellations were taken in vain and defiled by corporations, fictions, and fictional heirs, fictional principles, fictional agents, fictional assigns, and fictional derivatives thereof. We call forth our ancestors and our kin as they are and we are the living. No fictions nor corporations shall take our places ever. Nunc pro tunc. This spell we cast at earth at this time and at all points in time. So all who have taken fictional names that are not our name, that are not our appellation, and they've defiled it and used it, we call forth the living and not the dead. So,
Amen Ra.
Islam. So now we want to kind of get a feel for what have we been doing and how is it working for us and what's next. Okay, so all this time, and I've just been kind of reflecting, taking some time to reflect on what we've been doing, How's that working for us? What can we navigate better? What we can do, you know, to make things work. Islam, in the chat, I see you. All this time, we have been seemingly fighting off colonizers' attempts to denationalize us, seemingly. We have seemingly been doing things to prove who we are, seemingly. We now realize that we do not have to do all that. We know that once we figured out, first, that they've always known who we are. They have always known. There's never been a time that they didn't know. But once we figured out that those fake capitalists don't exist, their authorization to be is no more. Okay? I'm getting a little bit of an echo, so I'm muting just in case. Okay, so again, once we realized that those who were attempting to assert authority over us, we realized they were fake. They're not who they said they were, and we're not who they told us we were. So now that we know that, their authorization to even be is no more. Once the sovereign proclaims the capitalists as fiction, they no longer exist for that sovereign. So how did they seemingly exist in the first place? And this is a little bit of a review, and then we'll go into the rest of our sharing session. And more important, and how did they seemingly appear to take control of all of our resources? They used capital letters. That's how they did it. Okay. They used capital letters, and guess what? We did not rebut that. Because it's actually, silence is acquiescence. We say that in our court actions. Okay? Silence is acquiescence. And so now we're speaking. They used capital letters, and everything had at least one capital letter at its beginning. To include those. Okay.
Because the truth hurts.
Now,
that's right. It hurts.
Yeah. So anyway, let's move on. Let's move on. Because they're not gonna stop us. We're done. It's a wrap. They use capital letters because see, they don't want us to talk about capitalism because capitalism is the only thing that's given them a sandwich in the first place. But we're gonna talk about it. We're gonna keep talking about it. And we're not even talking to them. We're talking to one another. That's the point. They used capital letters, and everything that they were able to use had at least one capital letter at its beginning. And we know that that which starts in fraud stays in fraud. Okay? That which starts in fraud stays in fraud. Now, there's going to be a time where capital letters are going to be of use to us, but that's after we get rid of those who are misusing it. Okay, Frank L., if you could keep your if you could keep muted, that would be great. Yes. So that which starts in fraud stays in fraud. Every foreign colonizer has a doing business as name or an AKA name on top of their fraudulent servant subject name, which begins in a capital letter. When you strip away all the capital letters and surrounding agents and you start fresh, you then have the appellation for a sovereign. Okay? So you then have, when you start fresh, you then have the appellation in all lowercase letters of a sovereign. For a sovereign, rather. Not of a sovereign, but for a sovereign. So the frauds have attempted to give the sovereigns names in capital letters, and they attempted to use our lowercase sovereign appellations and our creditor status. Okay. This gives a more specific meaning to Islam. This gives a more specific meaning to taking the Lord's name in vain and defiling it. Defiling means file it someplace else, or don't file it, okay? And taking it in vain, we can spell vain V-E-I-N or V-A-I-N. Either one is still correct.
The conference has been locked. Goodbye.
Okay. Let's see. So they go ahead and the 740 number, if you would stay muted, that would be great. Okay. I'm muting people so that we can not have the background noise. Okay. They wanted to create Joinder with us, and that's why they created that capitalist system. And they didn't really even create it. They did not create that either. They didn't create anything. All they did was, again, take from us and create and do a fraudulent version of it, a hypothecation of it. Okay? And they wanted to create Joinder with us, the living, breathing, original, indigenous, natural, divine, sovereign heirs for all land, all natural resources, and all commerce. The dead sought to join with the living through the fraudulent use with capital letters. Everything that they capitalized seemed to work against us. It seemed to. For example, when we went into their fake courts, we found out, and this is important, seemingly the hard way, that they could only speak to the dead denationalized one. So they kept trying to kill the sovereign. But the sovereigns are so powerful that fake corporations can do nothing without our consent, either by autograph or what we say or what we do, such as showing up at a fake corporation court. And that brings us to where we are now. We now know that they can only speak to the dead. Okay? And we are not the dead. We are the living. What does that mean for us? Going forward, it means that we should only be speaking to the living and never to the dead. Because we've been speaking to them a lot, haven't we? We've been attempting to speak to them, and it seems like they don't hear us or something. Sometimes it seems that way, but they can hear. So since they've been trying to speak to the dead by attempting to put us in a dead status, we know that that didn't work. So now let's try something different. This is in terms of us only speaking to the living and never to the dead, and them, listen, once we declare that we're alive, they cannot speak to us again. They can't. And as long as we keep declaring that we're alive, they can't speak to us. Let me prove that. We have spoken to them very clearly, to the whole earth actually, and said that the American Moors are alive. We said it on the public record en masse. Okay? Using the same letterhead and everyone speaking with one voice, we're saying we're alive. So how do we know then that they heard us? How do we know that? Let's prove that they heard us. We are currently witnessing an earth-wide sign that they heard us, that they cannot speak to the living. We're witnessing it with our own eyes, and some people don't even see it. It's okay. That if you don't see it now, you'll see it eventually. Okay? We are witnessing an earth-wide ritual to affirm that they cannot speak to the living once we declare that we're alive. And you all know what I'm talking. Some of you already know where I'm going with this. In the ancient scripts as well as in their biblioteleotext, okay, the ancient scripts being all that the biblioteleotext copied, okay, and there's nothing wrong with a biblioteleotext, which some call a Bible. Nothing wrong with it. In all lowercase letters, nothing wrong with it. But in the ancient scripts as well as their biblioteleotext, and for those who look at the biblioteleotext to see if what we're saying is true, look at Habakkuk 2:20, 2nd chapter, verse 20. It states very clearly in different iterations and different ways, depending on the version of that you use. It says that when the law is in the temple, all of the earth, and it's not all of the earth, but all the earth is to keep silent. So those who are dead must keep quiet when we speak. Enter the masks over the mouth called social distancing. Islam Empress, I see you in the chat. She got it. She said it before I had an opportunity to get it out. They have to be quiet, and they're sending us a very clear signal that their mouths are covered with this whole mask situation that we are not in because we're not in that jurisdiction. And they know it. They're sending us a clear signal. That's a ritual, actually. Social distancing is a ritual. The masks over the mouth is called social distancing, but it's also a ritual in the above the 33rd degree place. Okay? The 6 feet distancing that places divine separation for the living from the dead is also a ritual and is public obedience to our commands that there is no joinder with the dead at any point in time. We've made that clear and they obeyed. There is no joinder with the dead. Joinder is all they ever did or attempted to do in those fake courts. We declare and proclaim that there is no joinder. And they have shown us that they get it earth-wide, all over the earth. They're saying, shh, just be quiet. Close down the courts, fake courts. Be quiet. Be quiet. The heirs are speaking. And I recently did a little more digging, and we find that 6 feet where social distancing is concerned, yes, some have said that it is the distance between the living and the dead. That is absolutely correct. There is a divine space that has been filled with divine energy instead of dead energy. So joinder is no longer. But it also breaks joinder with fake corporations, fake policy enforcers, fake capitalist paper, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Joinder is broken. And they're saying, we hear you. And now each more must break joinder, and it's actually only perceived joinder. It's only perceived joinder. You all should not wear, I mean, this is just my suggestion or my observation. I'll just talk about me because I don't want to, because again, you can't tell others what to do. But that's the reason I'm not wearing a mask. They should be wearing them. They should not be speaking.
Islam.
It is signs and symbols. We know that everything is a sign and a symbol. We know that. We know that already. We just have to watch them. And I see in the chat, Empress Michelle says coroner. Absolutely. The coroner has arrived for the dead to carry them on out of here. So, just one moment. Let me go ahead and see if I can do that. Okay, so we've broken all perceived, presumed joinder with the dead. Know that each sovereign must break all perceived joinder, and this is how it's done for those who may have a question of, well, how is joinder broken? You proclaim nationality in all lowercase letters. And then you terminate all presumed corporate contracts that use capital letters issued by corporations. That is how you break joinder. And then every time you speak, you break joinder. Keep joinder broken. It's breaking spells and casting spells. All sovereigns must keep a sword in your mouth at all times. And swords indicate precision in diction. That's what swords indicate. Okay? Let me say that again. Hold on for just a minute. I unlocked the meeting temporarily to let some of the Moors in. Just a moment. Okay. So all sovereigns must keep a sword in your mouth at all times. Again, we're not going to stop doing what we're doing. I don't know what makes them think that's going to stop anything, because it's not. All sovereigns must hear what I do, basically to keep a sword in my mouth. I'm changing up my strategy just a little bit because, again, we've been sending all of our affidavits to the colonizers, but we've not yet spoken to each other and to other sovereigns. Okay, we know that they stole the names of the sovereigns, and it's not even really stealing the names because those are not our names. There's no joinder, and jurisdiction cannot be waived even by consent of both parties. So this is what I'm doing. Whenever I want something, okay, and this is something new that I just started this week, and I'll definitely keep you posted and let you know how that works out, how it works out. But I'm just sharing this so that we can share ideas back and forth about how to proceed as a nation, okay? So what we did was for example, if I wanted something from Bill Gates, okay, and it's not that I want something from him, it's we're commanding our own stuff because he don't have nothing. In all capital letters, he has nothing. With any capital letters, he has nothing. And in fact, we do a lien on that and on any corporations attempting to hoard our resources. We lien them like we've been doing, in all capital letters and in where the first letter is capitalized, etc. We call them into court in that manner because we're really speaking to the energy that is capitalism. That's really what we're speaking to. We know that Bill Gates and anybody whose name whose sovereign appellation he twisted and stole, okay, that's all they did. They took our names, our holy appellations, and twisted them and changed them into something else and tried to get us to consent to that, okay? So what I'm doing is whenever I send something out now, I lowercase all of it, and all, because sovereigns can only speak to sovereigns and get anything done. We can only speak to one another to get anything done. So I know that he took someone's name. He took someone's appellation. We don't know whose appellation he took. We don't know. We know that that appellation, at birth, we know what that appellation was. It was William Gates in all lowercase letters, and that belonged to a sovereign, just like Pauline Denise Ritchie belongs to a sovereign. So I'm not going to talk to any capitalist anymore about anything, because they don't have anything. They have nothing. We want to call forth our sovereign energy. And so I'm going to lowercase everything and send it to all lowercase Microsoft, which is ours. Just like all lowercase Pauline Denise Ritchie, that's me. Okay. And again, before I do any of that though, all capitalism and capitalists are going to be leaned, because they can't use that. We know that's fraud. And what starts in fraud stays in fraud. And so we're going to do a lien, do some court actions on the subject, acting as agent for the all caps, and then give commands only to sovereign energy. Okay, we're not going to be, and listen, when you're talking, when you send it that way, a subject cannot speak. They can't answer. They can't respond. They can't do any of that. Only a sovereign can respond and do something and make things happen, because the resources belong to the sovereign. We know they stole names, they stole appellations. We're taking them back, okay? And when we do it this way, and this is a suggestion, again, do the study, do the study. When we do it this way, it simply allows our sovereign authority to command all other energy, okay? And again, we're demonstrating, and demonstrating is spelled D-A-E-M-O-N. We're demonstrating in manners that we've not done before. We've not been completely outside of the capitalist system in our lifetime until now. We are completely outside of that system. Okay? Completely outside of that system. And when we, and see, this is the part that this is what all the interruption is about. They know that when that it's just a matter of time before we get access to our resources by doing things we've not done before. It's only a matter of time. They know that, and so the prophecies even prophesy that at this time, the Moors walk into their freedom and their resources and get what is theirs. So that's a demonstration that I'm going to be doing soon. I just did one this past Friday, and I'll let you know how that goes. But what we're doing is elevating above all capitalism. That's what uplifting means. Elevating above all capitalism and sovereigns only speaking to sovereigns. Our prophet talked about us living near one another and us, communing with one another. That's what we should be doing. Since the very beginning of these people coming here, these these people called colonizers, since the very beginning, the first thing they had to do was start capitalizing our, changing up what was ours and doing a fake overlay. We want to switch that up and put it back in its proper place. And we don't even have to talk to them at all. At all. When we terminate all corporate contracts, we're not talking to them anyway. That's what that means. Terminate the corporate contracts and then speak to sovereigns only. So I'll let you know how that goes as well. Do the study. Yes, they did lower they attempted to lower our status by words in writing and speech. Justice Gilmore put that in the chat. And he said once we start using our above physics, metaphysics forces, sayonara to the beast as any kind of power. Absolutely. Capitalists have no thing. They have nothing. All they had was our mind for a short time, and really that not even that. We just went to sleep. We're awake now. And when we continue the ending of that enjoinder is over. It's a wrap. It's finished. They have obediently consented, as they should. And they're sending us major signals. And so in order to get the commerce started back up again, it's sovereigns, and more sovereigns, and not any subjects and not any corporations at all. That's the part they did not want us to know about, is that we can speak to one another and get everything we need and everything we want. The stuff is already ours. It's already ours. Having said that, we'll use a little bit of time for questions and comments of any kind that you may want to talk about Moors. But with regard to even the thing that was said about Moors in Detroit being killed, since when were Moors in Detroit not being killed? And now all of a sudden, what? We have to stop that. And it starts with exposing that capitalist system that keeps denationalizing them every time they take them into those fake courts, and then they put that mess on television and make it look like the Moors are doing something. And we were doing something. We were copping to capitalism. That's where that comes from. We all know COVID-19 is not killing Moors. Somebody gets hit by a car and it's COVID-19. Someone gets shot and it's COVID-19. So we know that's not the case with the Moors. We must fix that. Let's fix it. Let's fix it. It's our time. It's our time, and only we can fix that. First, by not even dealing with them at all. Because we don't have to. We can do sovereigns, and more sovereigns. If you think of the sovereign name that your mother gave you, your sovereign-born name in all lowercase letters, know that when you were born, someone was attempting to use the creditor side of that holy name, that holy appellation. So someone out there put it in capital letters and they've been using it. That's over. It's a wrap. That's finished. It's finished. No more. Justice Gilmore put in the chat, they were able to manipulate our brain through shorting out synapses that connect with mind. Man is mind and everything is mental. Yes, it is. Islam. And at this time, I will unmute so that we can get any questions or comments. If there's a lot of noise in your background, we'll go ahead and keep you muted. But for those who want to ask questions, there's just a few that have a lot of noise in the background, about 4 people, or about 4 Moors. But other than that, we'll go from there. And I have had to keep the meeting locked for the most part, just to keep out those who would have us continue in capitalism. They still need sandwiches and we're not giving them, so Islam. Are there any questions, comments, etc.? Okay. So at this time, we will go ahead and shorten our meeting, and more just do your study on all that's been said. Don't do anything until the study is done. Do nothing until the study is done. Okay? Nothing until the study is done. So that you know. Islam.
This is Khalid L. Oregon Mex from Territory. I am requesting how to actually hold court once I serve them a lien. Excuse me.
Okay.
What is the procedure? Because I'm ready to serve them.
Okay, so the first thing you have to do is make sure that that your demonstration does not start with war energy.
Okay.
Okay. They might have done some things, and I'm sure they have, but we have to ensure that we do not approach that situation with war energy first. And once you've cleared the war energy, then what you do is there are some documents on YouTube at Light Tajiri Bay.
Okay.
And you can stop the video and copy them. I made sure that I showed the documents and what they say so that you can write up your own on Moorish letterhead. And I find that Moors understand the documents better when they type them up and actually see the wording and the scriptum.
Okay.
So type up a command to appear in court.
Command to appear. Okay.
A command to appear.
Got it.
And that's online as well. And then also, if you'll go to Moorish American Consulate Public Records, there are many commands to appear there in some of the documents as well. Just a moment. There is a little bit of noise coming from somewhere. Let me just find out where that's coming from.
Excuse me.
I didn't mute you, did I?
No, I'm still here.
Okay, good. I got the right one then, good. And so you want to send them a command to appear first, then send them, and that has to be, that along with a decapitalized treaty, okay?
Decapitalized treaty.
Yes, a decapitalized treaty.
Okay.
And then you want to prepare for that. Make sure that you have your lien in all lowercase letters, and you have and you have proof that you gave them notice, okay, to appear.
Oh, well, how you?
And you're always going to just a moment. Let me get that. Okay, and then you want to make sure that you give them enough time. I usually give them 3 days.
So I must have been generous. Like I gave them 30 days.
Ooh, yeah, that's a whole lot of time. But see, it's, again, the beauty of our estate is that we're doing it electronically. Some of you didn't know about this meeting until today, and you're here.
Exactly.
So we're telling them, and again, they've been warned. They've been given notice, not warned, but given notice, since time immemorial about this. So,
Empress, in the event they default, that's when I can call the provost marshal, correct?
Okay, let me get to that point.
Okay.
In your command to appear, you're going to see language there that says that the provost marshal has been notified. Okay?
Cool.
You're to notify the provost marshal as well. So when you send out the command to appear, you send that out to the provost marshal as well. And make sure that they all go out at the same time and that they're given plenty of time. We want them to be notified 3 days prior. Mostly 3 days prior. If it's 2 days or 1 day, that's fine too, because again, they should be checking the public record every day. They're public servants. So the provost marshal has been notified. Now, I can tell you right now they're not going to show up for court because criminals don't like to come to court. But we still have to do the action. The point is, get it on the public record. That's the point, really. Because when you get it on the public record, just like they've been doing, okay, then the provost marshal can do his job. All you're doing is notifying everyone, the provost marshal and those who have violated. Just a moment, there's a little bit of noise coming from a couple of places. I'm going to go ahead and mute you. And so the provost marshal will get his notification as well. And then from there, once you give your ruling and you place it on the public record, then you send out the arrest command. And when you send out the arrest command, it goes to the same people that you notified previously. Okay.
Islam. And I can find the address of the provost marshal online.
It is, yes, absolutely. It's, I believe, and I think it's 2800 Army Pentagon, Washington District of Columbia Territory.
Okay,
now,
I got it.
We are, I have to call, there are people that are going to be called to court, to our Moorish American Consular Court, in order to continue to remove the corporate covering off of that resource. So, for example, all the banks, when I called them to court, the corporate covering came off, and now we're dealing with sovereign energy, okay? Because that's what nationalizing the banks is all about, is giving them not sovereignty, but sovereign energy. Because, again, even in our sleep, our sovereignty was not given to anyone else, never. And we, even though we're sovereign, we cannot give sovereignty to someone who's not of the bloodline and birthright.
Understand.
We can.
That's why they say unalienable. That means something that can't be given away, sold, or anything else.
We're doing that.
Unalienable, right?
So that's what we do. We can't transfer any other type of energy except sovereign energy. Okay?
That's right.
And there's a court session. Empress Valerie Barker Bay is having a court session April 29th at 1 p.m. We say post-meridian. Mountain time, which is 12 on the West Coast and 3 on the East Coast.
12 on the West Coast, okay.
Okay, and look at what she's doing, and then also go out on YouTube and put in verbatim almost, okay? And you can add to it whatever you want to add to it. But it's best to keep the charge as unlawful occupation of full unlawful occupation on original indigenous land or at original indigenous land. Okay. Unlawful occupation at original indigenous land. Okay. And you could even say unlawful occupation of original indigenous land, because it's unlawful occupation whether it's on land, in air, in the sea, no matter where it is. So it can be but we're trying to come with a sword that is precise in our mouths. And so we're cleaning things up as we go. Unlawful occupation at original indigenous land or on original indigenous land.
Okay, and the class again is April the 29th, 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, correct?
Actually, it's going to be a 10 or 15-minute court action by Empress Valerie Barker Bay. We have court actions all the time. Okay. I see you, Empress Tazarna. Let me go ahead and do that now. I had to lock the meeting because of the interruption. They don't want the information to go out, but it has to go out. We have court actions. It's open momentarily, Empress Tazarna, until I have to, put another subject out. So we have court actions all the time, Islam Empress.
Empress, this is Empress Valerie Barker Bay. And I put the phone number and the access code in the chat.
Okay. Thank you, Empress. Appreciate that.
Oh, I got to get it. Okay.
Okay. It's 2800, Justice Gregory.
How do we retrieve
in the chat. Huh?
Islam.
Islam.
Islam, Empress. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, Islam. And we're going to begin speaking only to the sovereign energies on our land. And the only time we even mention subjects and corporations is in court actions to throw them out of here. Period. Islam. So, again, and I apologize to those who were unable to get back in for just a little while, but when I hit the lock button, it locks the whole meeting. It doesn't lock just any specific number. I'm hoping free conference call will allow so that we can boot a number, boot that one number out and let that number stay out and everyone else be in, okay? That's what I'm hoping they will do. Islam. And thank you for that question. Again, you can go on to Light Tajiri Bay on YouTube and verbatim type up the same language that was used in my court actions there and use that language in your court actions as well. Use that diction in your court actions as well.
Islam.
Okay? Islam. And then once you get your scriptum, you can use that same language for all of your court actions, and you can do court actions all day, every day to get these colonizers off your land, okay?
Absolutely. Islam.
Islam. Let's see. Court actions, again, we cannot complain about policy enforcers if we're not doing court actions in our territory, okay?
Islam.
We must do liens and court actions all over the place, okay? And now we're going to begin, because once we get that, a good grasp on that as a nation, which we have right now. Hold on for just a moment. Once we get a good grasp on that as a nation, and we have a great grasp on it actually, because the empresses and emperors are doing court actions left and right, and I'm loving that. It will be time for us to then, because see, once we can get them off of what they've been attempting to do, then that means that we're ready to possess what we need to possess. Okay, so, for example, the ancestors, and this is just wise of them, they were not going to give us all brand new domiciles if we couldn't keep them.
Right.
If we don't know how to get policy enforcers off of the doorstep.
Right.
That wouldn't be very wise, because then the estate would just be going in some circular motion that it's not meant to go in. We needed to be competent to govern our estate properly. And the way the estate was seemingly rendered into the control of another, seemingly, is that they used fake courts to do it. And the way we govern is to thank you, and I apologize again to the Moors who were locked out briefly, but you all can hear why we had to lock it, because it's just, they don't want this information to go out because they already know that it's over, it's a wrap. And so, and I don't even like saying that because it seems like we are trying to get at them or something. We're not. We're the heirs, period. And there are no others. So we have to govern our estate accordingly, or govern our estate accordingly. Islam.
Gregory Tariq Bay, North Carolina Territory. Well, hello.
Grand Rising.
Thank you.
Hey, JB.
Hey.
Grand Rising. Okay, so Islam Empress.
This is Sharon in Morris Bay. I have a question concerning what are you saying to send the lien in, their names?
No, the liens and court commands are the same. They stay the same. We do them the same way we've been doing them, because we're calling capitalism on the carpet. That's really what we're doing. But then after we've done that, because you have to do that first, you got to remove the corporate covering, the capitalist covering off of the resource that you want. And then once you've done that with lien and court action and arrest command for those corporations, then you do a command based on that to the all lowercase, and you say, okay, this is this is what we command.
Oh, I see. So once
then the sovereign energy will assist us in getting whatever it is that again, we're not talking to them except to call them into court and boot them out of here like we do regularly. That stays the same.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. And so then I send the command and tell, say, for example, the entity calling itself a sheriff, I send it a command in its lowercase and give them a command.
After you have called them into court and liened them.
Yes.
In uppercase, the uppercase and the one that one that has one.
Yes.
Yes. In capitis diminutio minima is what that is. That's where the first letter is capitalized. You call that thing into court, and they're operating as agent for the all caps sheriff's department, etc. You call those two monsters into court, and you send out an arrest command for them because, again, they really kind of don't want to show up there. They don't want to be in our court.
Not really. They really don't.
They don't. They can't face the sovereigns. And then after that is done, then you send something to the sovereign energy and say, okay, you, in all lowercase letters, you do this, and watch them do it.
And in capitis nolo for them at that point.
Yes. In capitis nolo, and it's not really, we're not making them sovereign, because you can't, if they don't have the bloodline, they're not going to be sovereign anyway.
Right.
But we're sending sovereign energy so that we can get sovereign resources. Because they can't put corporate energy on sovereign resources.
Correct. Yes. Okay.
Okay. They've only pretended to do that, and everything they did, they denationalized it first. And all we're doing is nationalizing it.
I got it. All right. Islam.
And that way, we're only talking to one another, and and sovereign energy is circulating all over the earth.
Wow. Islam.
Okay. Also, yes, if you get locked out of the meeting for some reason, because sometimes it will drop people depending on who, the internet server or whatever. Sometimes people get dropped. I even get dropped sometimes too. Keep trying to get back in so that because I do unlock it. I'm trying to weed through the other energies that are trying to stop us from doing what we're doing, because they already know. Once we start talking to the sovereign energy and the sovereign resources, then it's a wrap. It's already a wrap. We know that, because we have called everything has stopped completely while we speak. Okay? Now we have to keep speaking competently so that we get what we need from our own resources. And know this, our resources are so vast. Did you know that in the past, they would do things like, there would be so much, let's just say, milk. There would be so much milk produced that if they were truthful, milk probably would have been still 5 cents a gallon. Wow. But whenever they get so much of it, they used to pour it in the ground to keep the price up. Our land is so vast. Our estate is so vast. They did the same thing with the crops, and they're doing that now with the crops and the oil, all of that stuff. There are barges and ships and large containers of oil sitting off the coast waiting for the heirs to speak, and no one can move it. Because until we start getting the conveyances and things that require that, no one's going, it doesn't move. They throw away tons, yes, and I see in the chat for sharing more, they said they throw away again. That's why I have to mute to lock the meeting so that we can continue. But we'll find a way around that too. We're going to speak with the ancestors about that and find a way to deal with that, because it's really not going to stop anything at all whatsoever.
Yeah, all of our liens work. Like,
they've worked so much so that nothing is moving right now. We told them stop.
None of them people on the air.
Okay, and they had to stop.
None of these people on this call. So what were you coming on here for?
Okay, exactly. Why are they even on here? So again, Morris, let's keep going. We're not deterred by anything. It's a wrap. We're not deterred by anything. And then I'm looking at some of the things in chat. We are to send the commands to the corporations that we've liened and called into court. Yes, send the commands to them now that they've been liened and called into court, and then an arrest command has been issued for those capitalists, okay? Then they can no longer operate as capitalists, okay? And they will go straight to jail. And the sovereign energy is what we're speaking to. So we don't really have to worry about them attempting to come back. Well, we know they do. If liens didn't work, everything would still be business as usual on this earth. If they didn't work, if liens did not work, those people would still be out there breaking windows and doing all types of madness. And, you know, in some places they're still doing that, but it has really significantly reduced in terms of the violation against the Moors. Significant reductions all over the land, and I'm seeing some agreement in the chat with regard to that in your territories as well. So
I think it'll reduce more if we spend the scimitar.
Huh? Say again?
I think it will reduce even more if we swing that sword.
Oh, absolutely. Well, we you know, the sword is in our mouth. You know, the Bibliotheliotech and all of the other ancient scripts say that when Yeshua returns, and that's all of us, we know that. When Yeshua returns, the energy will return with a sword in her mouth. And a sword just means precision. Right. That's all it means, precision. It means that we're going to be very precise and accurate. Precise and accurate means that when we say it, it is done immediately effective. Okay? And we're getting to that point right now. Some of us are already there. Many of the newer Moors are working to that. It won't take them long. And some are coming in already ready. Okay? And they're just needing to do the work. That's it. And that's really what all of us are needing to do, is just continue the work. That's it. And we're, yes, I'm looking in the chat about some of the comments that are coming through. This is Jermore says the crown is in charge, two-edged sword in the mouth. Yes, that is absolutely us. And then Empress Sharon says, yes, we have to be careful of our words. We actually, as long as we study and listen, we can minimize the number of words that we use. We know that Color of Law put a whole bunch of wordiness on top of the simple supreme law of the land. That's what they did. And we can limit, we don't, now that we know who we are and we know the law, we can limit the amount of words that we use in order to get things done. It doesn't have to be a 45-page writ or affidavit like we're accustomed to doing. It can be a little less wordy, and then getting rid of words unless they're relevant, like of, okay? We want to limit the use of until some other time, unless we mean without, like we were talking about in the beginning of this sharing session. Are there any other comments, questions, or anything other than that? I'm loving what I'm seeing in the chat.
Islam. So one thing that I had wanted us to do at some point was for everyone to any and all successful liens, writs, affidavits, and all your successful demonstrations, if we could maybe get a place to compile some of that stuff to attach with any future demonstrations, I just thought that would be helpful.
The public record has so many of them on there that it's unbelievable. And remember now, the liens that have been done, those companies are shut down right now. Every lien that was done, that corporation is currently shut down.
Islam,
like
Islam. I'm looking in the chat too. It says here in Tejas territory, all war rants are stopped. Absolutely, and it's because of the liens that were done by the Moors. There are too many, I think, to compile in just one place. Go ahead, Justice. Were you saying something, Justice?
No, that's me, Michael Bay.
Yeah, Islam. Yes, Islam. And so
Islam.
Yeah. So go ahead, Justice.
Okay. Yeah, you were speaking on the word. I couldn't hear it. You were saying Forbes. Can you spell it for me?
Okay. So of is one of the words that we want to make sure that we kind of limit, simply because the Constitution of the United States is not the Constitution for the United States. So we need to really look at the use of that, because the use of that, see, I just used it again, because it's so prevalent in our speech, in our diction. And we have been trained or programmed to use that, and we have to now start being more precise in our diction and use for instead of, or you can use with or to or something, some other instead of. So, but we're so programmed to use it that it's just, but we are deprogramming ourselves even as we speak, which we are the only ones who can do that. Islam.
Can we use at? You
can use whatever you want to use. Just do the etymology on it. That's all.
Right. Okay.
Province can do whatever they want. With study, you will always pick the right answer. Okay.
Islam. If I can interject.
Sure.
Okay. This is probably a little late in the conversation, but you were speaking on, this was about an hour ago, the word Forbes. I couldn't hear exactly what you were saying and what the word you were dictating, and can you say it again?
I'm not sure which word you're referring to. So maybe you could go back through and get that information when you hear the recording, because the recording will be out there.
It's right in the chat.
Islam.
Or you can type it in the chat. Yeah, or you can type it in the chat.
No, I'm on my phone.
Oh, okay, yeah. Islam.
She was talking about the word for, F-O-R.
Okay, Islam.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you for that, Justice.
You're welcome.
I'm busy.
I appreciate it.
Rolling, and sometimes so.
That was a great demonstration of unity.
I'm out here in the country, so my reception kind of bad.
Islam. Thank you for being here. We appreciate your energy. Islam. Okay, Morris. That being all, I believe we can end here, and it's not really an end, it's actually a continuation, and we will continue on Thursday. And I'm not sure who is going to be doing the call this coming Thursday, so we will put the information out on social media so that you can know which number and access code to use for this coming Thursday, and then just spread the word as you normally do. Islam, peace and grand rising to the Moors.
Islam.
Peace.
Grand rising.
Grand rising, emphasis. Grand rising.
Peace and love to all true Muslims.
Islam. Peace and love.
Ask some more, Brother Eo.
Access to more. Islam, brother.
We all love you, sweetie.
Islam.
Islam, grand rising.
Grand rising to the nobility.
I know that's right. It has to be.
Yes, Islam.